Hello, my name is Quinta. I'm here to assist Truckworks today and show you how to do a fifth wheel and skid plate inspection. We'll start with the fifth wheel and the tools required. This is the GN-IM 147 adjustment gauge we will be using. This over here is your GN-IM 127, which is your skid plate gauge. The J909L, which is your kingpin gauge. You will also need a hammer, a 24 socket. This is a 10mm Allen key, a 24 ring flat spanner, the 19mm we will use on the skid plate, and a 100mm scraper always comes in handy for your lubrication. As you can see here, the lubrication being used here is a EP2 graphite lubrication, which is what's recommended for fifth wheel and most other of these types of products. So to start the inspection, we need an inspection sheet, as you can see there, and we will be following the instructions on this inspection sheet. The top block has already been filled in, company, date, fleet number, registration number. What we still need is the fifth wheel serial number. The fifth wheel serial number is obtained from the name tag over there. And the same number is also found at the back of the fifth wheel on the lead-on ram here. Those two numbers must match. So in this case, the number is 2928 050631Z. So what this number means, 29 minus 10 equals 2019. 28 tells me it's a 37C fifth wheel. It's a type of fifth wheel. 05, January, February, March, April, May. And 06 is the 6th of May 2019, date of manufacture. The batch number is 31. Z means that this fifth wheel is fitted with a centralized lubrication system. Okay, on your inspection sheet you will also find 3 different types of repair kits, and that depends on what this fifth wheel requires. If the handle needs to be replaced, that would be an A1 kit. If your locking bars damaged, that would be a C1 kit, and your minor kit is a B2. Items not included in the kit is the pedestal countersink bolts, these ones over here. If they are rusted or bent, they need to be replaced. The part number is on the inspection sheet there. The bridge or mounting brackets found just underneath here, if they are bent, which is a simple case of taking them out, putting them next to each other like this, that must be a flat edge there, no sun shining through. If it creates a V like this, that means they are bent. If you should put new rubbers in with those bent plates and you grab the fifth wheel at the back here, the fifth wheel will be loose, it will move. And that is because there's no compression on the rubbers because those plates are bent. So let's start the actual inspection. I'm just going to follow the instructions on the inspection sheet. Is the fifth wheel clean and ready for inspection? Preferred cleaning method is a steam cleaner. Optional, use a scraper. Watch for thinners or benzene. The inspection method is visual. As you can see, this fifth wheel has been scraped clean and then it was washed with thinners. And as you can see, the fifth wheel is nice and clean. We can see all the damages here. The ideal is that if you do that, your fingers must remain clean. Cleaning the fifth wheel is an extremely important part of the process, and that is for 3 reasons. Number 1, first of all, we want to get all the grit and the grime off the fifth wheel. Number 2, it is easier to see visual damage if the fifth wheel is clean. And number 3, and this is the most important one, if the fifth wheel is not clean, the grease will not adhere to the surface. When you apply pressure and there's oil or grease left over, that pressure will just remove the grease immediately. What we want is metal adhesion on the lubrication. Therefore, we need to clean the fifth wheel and also the skid plate. And I think that is a step that most people do not follow. So in that case, I'm going to mark the inspection sheet good. Condition of the JOST nameplate. As you can see, the nameplate is clearly visible. All the information is there. There's the part number, and that number there matches the serial numbers. So I'm going to mark that one. Good. Fifth wheel top plate condition. In order to check that, I'm going to use this little gauge here. This is our measuring gauge. It's called the J5mm. That distance there is 2 millimeters. That distance is 5 millimeters, and that distance is 9 millimeters. And those are the dimensions that we use mostly at JOST. So to make this a bit easier to use, find this little hole on the handle at the top. As you can see, I can read the JOST name there. So when I put it in like that, and I just give it a tiny little bend, that's just going to make it a little bit easier to use in the inspection. So in order to gauge the fifth wheel top plate condition, you just place this little gauge over the bolts or over the grease groove at any point. We want to see a gap. There must be a gap. If there is no gap, if it is straight flush like that, over that bolt or over that grease groove over there, that means that the fifth wheel has reached the maximum life and it needs to be replaced. If that is the case at any point across the fifth wheel, it's scrap and replace. As you can see, there's a nice gap over there. This is a 2019 fifth wheel. As you can see, there's still a lot of material left on the top plate. So the top plate condition is good. Fifth wheel top plate straightness. Guys, could you put the gauge over for me, please? When we put the straight edge over the fifth wheel, we do not want this little gauge to be able to go through anywhere here. You can check the other side, please. As you can see, the gauge is not going through. That is a very good result. The second thing I'm looking for is this gap here. This gap must be level. As you can see, the gap there is level. If this gap gets smaller from the outside towards the inside, that means that the fifth wheel is bowed. And in that case, the fifth wheel needs to be scrapped. We cannot use a fifth wheel that is bent, because any material that you do this with constantly is going to cause the material to fracture and break. So thank you very much. The fifth wheel is straight. I can mark that one. Good. Pedestal condition. We are looking at the pedestals here. We're looking for cracks in the corners here and on the other side. Could you please check the other side? Check the pedestals, please. Also check the bolts. You can just do a finger test. It's very important when you check bolts to check if you can see any rust. Rust means that there is a loose, something is moving. So that could either be a bolt that's loose. You might even find cracks on your ripple plate on the corners here. Do you see any damage on that side? Nothing. Okay, so we can mark the pedestals. Good. Pedestal rubbers. Pedestal rubbers, it's a little bit of a grey area, you could say. But personally, there's three things that I check for when it comes to fifth wheel rubbers. The first one, if you look at the angle of the fifth wheel must be at a 5-degree angle. If the fifth wheel is too flat or if it's too far down, that means the rubber has collapsed in some area. This fifth wheel, when I look at it straight like this, it does look fairly healthy. The second thing I like to do is to grab the back of the fifth wheel with a straight arm. As you can see, I cannot put a lot of pressure on the fifth wheel. But if you do this and the fifth wheel is able to move with as little pressure as that, that tells me that the rubbers have been compromised. Then thirdly, we do have the indicator over here. Now the JOST rule says that when this 5mm distance is placed like that in there with a full load on the top plate, this gauge must not touch the indicator over there. As you can see, there's no load on this fifth wheel, but when I put the gauge in, there's a huge gap between there and there, which means, based on the three checks I've done, I would say that these rubbers are in a good condition, and I will mark them as such. The next one is the locking mechanism. Now, I always equate this to a padlock. If you take a padlock, you always take the key, insert it, and check if the padlock is working. The fifth wheel is very much the same way. We need to make sure it works before we can use it. And this should be done every time before you hitch, every time after you've unhitched as well. This is one of the checks that we do. So you grab the handle, you pull it back, and you leave it. As you can see, the handle is still in the open position. That tells me that this lock is functional, and I can mark it as good. Condition of the handle. When you look at this handle, you can see the handle has got a slight bend upwards. When I look on the inside, yes, I can confirm that there is a slight bend upwards, and this is very much a bow, it's not so much of a bend. Whenever I'm not 100% certain about the handle or whether it's going to function or not, if I see any damage on it, I leave that space open. When we do the adjustment, the handle's going to want to go in further. And if it cannot go in further and it's being stopped in some way by this little gap in the top plate, then I will come and make a note that we need to replace the handle. So for that purpose, I'm not going to give the handle a rating right now, because I'm not sure if it will be able to enter into the fifth wheel when we do the adjustment. The next one is the safety latch. This is the safety latch here. This is an automated safety latch. You lift the safety latch, it must return with the spring. As you can see here, nothing is broken, everything is fine. So we can mark that one good. The next one is this, the spring hook. If something had broken off here, this sometimes can break off if you apply a force, if the kingpin comes past here. In a case like that, there's a spring hook that JOST supplies, where we drill a hole through there, we put a T-bar with a spring hook and a chain. If that repair was done, you would give that spring hook a rating. But since we haven't got a spring hook, I'm just going to write there, not applicable. So we do not need to give it a rating. Wearing ring bolts, guys. Number 10, Alan Key, please. Can you please check for me if these bolts are nice and tight? Now, the torque rating on those bolts is 140. I do not recommend that you put 140 Newton meter torque on these at the moment, because there's grease inside there. Just check if they are tight and tighten them as much as you can. Do not put 140 Newton meters on them. You will damage the bolt. If it's a new bolt and your tool is clean, then you will be able to get that 140. But in my experience, if there's any grease present inside the bolt or on the tool, your chances of stripping the bolt is very good. And in a case like that, you're going to have to replace those bolts. You will not be able to put the vehicle back on the road. So please just check those for us. Keep this upright. There you go, that's good. In this case, the bolts have been cleaned properly, so we can check them to 140, which is very good, and no damage is being done. Keep it upright, there you go. Excellent. So these bolts are nice and tight. They look very good. I'm going to mark them. Good. Shear load blocks. It is required by law that there must be shear load blocks welded in the front, up in the back, and in the front of the fifth wheel. Those shear load blocks must be 15 by 15 by 150 millimeter long. They are only required if the bolt, the grade of bolt at the top here is 8.8. These bolts have a grade of 10.9. If you're using 10.9 grade bolts, I don't know if you want to see if you can see that there. Can you see the 10.9? Yeah, you can see that there. These are 10.9 grade bolts. Therefore, we do not need the shear load blocks. This is a legal requirement. In my experience, I've found that mostly you will find 8.8 bolts on the back of an interlink, and then you should have shear load blocks welded in there. Since this is 10.9 bolts, I'm going to write there 10.9 bolts, which means we do not need shear load blocks. So condition of the wearing kit after adjustment. If you look on the inspection sheet, you will see that this is the adjustment procedure. If you just read through that, you will end up with the same result. These inspection sheets are available on the JOST website, www.jost.co.za. There's a blue bar that says downloads. You put your cursor on downloads, you'll get a drop-down menu that says inspection sheets. You click on inspection sheets, and it'll give you all the different inspection sheets for all the various JOST products. You can then click on the little blue box next to the one you're looking for. In this case, we are inspecting the JSK 37C fifth wheel. So that is the inspection sheet that we are using, the JSK 37C inspection sheet. Okay, guys, to start the process, please undo the adjusting bolt on the other side. You might want to just have a look over there. Under normal circumstances, you would not need to undo the nut underneath first. You can just turn the bolt out. The bolt is turned out till it's level with the outside of the wheel. Okay, also make sure that your nut is a little bit back. You don't want the nut to get in the way later. There you go. Excellent, so that should do. Okay, the next step is to put the adjustment gauge on top of the fifth wheel. I always advise people to put their hands all the way down. Make sure your center of gravity is low. Put your chest over the fifth wheel, over the gauge here. And put your entire body weight into it and hitch it into the fifth wheel. Excellent. A sign of a healthy fifth wheel is once you've hitched it, you can already see the gap in the front here. That is what we're looking for. That tells me that the kit inside is healthy. What you now do is you take a hammer and you give the handle a shot in. As you can see, the handle is moving freely. I do not see any problems here. You will remember that I did not mark the handle previously. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it is working, so I will mark it. Good. Now, this is a healthy situation. I can see the last knot sticking out here. I can see the handle. You can see the tool is nice and tight. It's bound up, and there's a nice gap in front. This is what we want to see. This is ideal. If your locking bar is damaged and you hit the handle here like this, the tool will do this. It'll go up and come down. The reason why it's doing that, because no adjustment has been done previously, the lock jaw is hitting into the locking bar, creating a little step. So when you hit it, it goes like this. That means the tool is going up and coming down, and then it will be loose. In a case like that, if the handle is okay, you're going to need a C1 kit because you need to replace the locking bar. The other option, what could happen, is you're hitting it, nothing is happening, the last notch is on the inside of the fifth wheel, and the tool is just loose, it's lying flat, it's not even moving. In a case like that, that means that the kit is worn out, there's no need for you to proceed, you need to replace the kit and then redo this entire process. Okay, but what we've got here so far, this is a healthy situation, this is what we want to see. So before we can continue, I need to lift the safety latch, move the handle forward. I am taking the notches on the handle out of the way by moving it forward so that when he's turning the bolt in, the handle and the notches are not going to get stuck behind the fifth wheel. Please proceed and turn the adjusting screw back in. I will be able to feel the handle here when he makes contact, and that's when we can start picking at the tool. The tool now needs to come down. There you go, I've got contact. The tool is already started. I can feel the handle moving, the tool is already loose. Now you can see the tool coming down. It's coming down, that's good. Keep going please. That's it. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, stop there. What we now have is a very small gap in the front. I'm now going to turn the tool 90 degrees like this. As you can see, the front and the rear of the tool is now in contact with the top plate of the fifth wheel, which means we have reached the optimum point. Now at this point, the tool is still binding. What it means is that the kingpin and the locking mechanism are in full contact with each other. We need to get some lubrication in between there. So we need to create a little gap. That gap is created by turning that bolt in another 1.5 turns. So please give me another 3 half turns in. 1, 2, 3. Okay. When you look at the tool now, you can see it will not move forwards and backwards, which means there's no more movement in the unit. But the tool is moving freely because there's an 0.3 millimeter gap between the kingpin and the locking mechanism. So there's enough room for the grease to get in there. You can lock the nut into place now. Excellent, thank you very much. So once we have done, now just hold on. Once we have done the adjustment, this is what we have been working towards reaching. As I said before, the tool is not moving. which is what we were looking for. We want to get rid of that impact. And if you look on the handle, you will see the last notch on the handle here. Now this is our wear indicator. If this notch is on the inside of the fifth wheel, in other words, I cannot see it, that means that that kit needs to be replaced. It's reached the maximum wear limit. As you can see, this notch is way outside of the fifth wheel. That means that this kit is in a good condition and this fifth wheel is safe to use. I am now going to pull the handle, so I release the tool from the fifth wheel, and most importantly, I now need to mark it. Condition of the wearing kit after adjustment, last notch on the handle position is good. Should you do this adjustment and you assess the wearing kit, the last notch on the handle is not visible, you would select one of these kits if you needed to be replaced. In a case like this, where everything's in a good condition, we would be replacing the B2 kit. But since the last notch is very much visible, we just mark it good. I can now put my name, signature, and today's date. And most importantly, this fifth wheel is safe to use. As you can see, everything is in a very good condition. And that concludes fifth wheel maintenance and adjustment. The only other thing left now is to show you the lubrication procedure. For that, I'm going to hand you over to the guys from Truckworks. They will show you how to do the lubrication. These guys, bring yourself closer. As you can see at this point, he's using a liberal amount. Please continue. He's going to fill the grease groove. At this point, as I said, you can be liberal. Apply your lubrication over your grease groove. Fill the grease groove and the bolt holes. You can use a bit more there. Now what we want is to achieve a 2 millimeter thick layer of grease on the high areas of the fifth wheel only. We do not need any grease in this area here. That area will just collect more dust and create more grinding paste. So the correct thickness of the grease is basically the thickness of that tool there. That is what we're looking for as far as lubrication is concerned. 2 millimeter thick layer of grease. Okay. You can come this side. We're just repeating the same process on the other side. Looking good. Okay, once that is done, the only little piece that's left over to do is to do the wearing ring and the lockjaw on the inside. He's actually got enough grease on his scraper there to complete that process. Let me show you. So what you do now is you can take any straight edge on the fifth wheel anywhere, like that there will do. In your scraper, like that. So we want to put some grease in there for the top flange of the kingpin. So you take a little bit like that, put it on the inside of the wearing ring like that, and take the remainder and put that there where the lockjaw makes a hole on the inside of the fifth wheel. Put that in there. As the kingpin comes in, it's going to grab that grease and slap it around the kingpin. I just want to fix my little in here. There you go. Thank you very much. So that is what a properly greased fuel looks for. It should look like. What we use, as I said, is EP2 graphite lubrication. This particular one does a very good job, and the football top plate is looking very good for its age, purely because this type of maintenance is being done regularly on the site by truck workers. Thank you very much, and have a good day.